Freddie Gruber came into my life the year after I got out of the Dick Grove School of Music. It was early 1992, and I wanted to continue studying. And enough people around Los Angeles had said, you gotta check this guy out, Freddie Gruber. And I remember I went to a clinic at Cal State Northridge. The clinic was Johnny Vatos Hernandez from Oingo Boingo. Amazing drummer. And it was a great experience, but he said, hey, over here on the side of the stage is my teacher, Freddie Gruber. And here's this funky looking dude with huge glass frames. It looks like he just fell out of bed, wearing an old t-shirt, white undershirt that was so faded and tattered, it almost had holes in it. Pants up to here. And that was the first visual I got of Freddie. But enough people recommended him that in 1992 I called him. And I called him at 11 o'clock in the morning thinking I'd be safe. No. I woke him up and he let me know. That was the first interaction I had with him, was he dressed me down for waking him up so early in the morning. So I learned never to call Freddie before at least 2 in the afternoon. But that began my relationship with him, and I studied with Freddie pretty seriously from about 92 through 96. And by that time, I was on the road so much with Royal Crown Revue that I just couldn't continue to study. I was gone all the time at that point. But in the intervening time, it was so great. It was just a perfect, for me, it couldn't have been a more perfect scenario, because here I was learning about all of this classic American music and all this stuff that I had not really known much about through being in this band, Royal Crown Revue. And I could literally take that and go back to Freddie with it. And for those who've hung out with Freddie, you know that it's an hour lesson with him doesn't exist. It's about going over and just entering Freddie's world, which would happen the second you'd walk through the front door. And you would just, sometimes literally I would get there at 5 o'clock in the evening and I'd drive home at 7 a.m. the next morning, or 3 a.m. or 9 a.m. once. It was always an endurance festival, but of the highest order. It was an experience studying with Freddie. So I could take all this stuff that I was doing with RCR, and it was the perfect, meshing with what I was learning from Freddie. And that, I think, really pushed me in the direction that I am now. Around 1999, I began writing articles, and which eventually turned into writing books. And the reason that I wanted to do this was I had this whole side of me that had, went to college and learned how to research and write. And when I was learning about all these different classic American styles of music through my work with RCR, I realized quickly that there were no instructional books out there that were going to teach me how to play this stuff. So I kind of started to interview a lot of the guys, the drummers that had played on the records that we were influenced by in Royal Crown Revue were still alive. A lot of them lived in LA. So I started interviewing them. I started formally researching a little bit more. And as a result of that, I started writing articles, which then led to books. In the early 2000s, I'd written, a couple of books and some articles, and was starting to see this story emerge about the evolution of the drum set. And it wasn't nearly as sophisticated as it's become now, but I felt like I wanted to go out and start doing some clinics, because I felt there was a lot of interesting stuff going on here, and there wasn't many people talking about it. So I started doing some clinics. And the more that my clinic evolved, the more that I realized that there was a really cool way to present this information that people found interesting. When I first started, I sort of thought, I'm talking about stuff that's old, that's, most of the people that are going to be at these clinics don't even know who I'm talking about or any of the styles of music. Yet, somehow I figured out a way to make it interesting for them, to involve them in the process. And I saw that and I went, okay, here's the basis for a DVD. I could, because eventually I had so much information in the clinic to share that the clinic was getting to be 3 hours long. And I knew I had to kind of formally capture this. So in 2009, I went to Drum Channel and I did the show DC Live, and Don Lombardi happened to be the host. And Don is also, he was one of Freddie's original students, and he and Freddie were very involved actually together in the establishment of DW. And so we had Freddie in common, and Don is also really into education and really into the history of the instrument. So once once I shared my idea with Don about doing this project, that was the beginning of it. It took us about 2 years to get it all done, maybe even 3. I stopped counting after a while, but that's how the Century Project began. So right now I'm on the road with the Brian Setzer Orchestra. It's kind of a dream come true gig for me because it combines everything that I love about drumming. I grew up playing rock and roll, but you know, my path took me into this world of jazz and swing and rockabilly and rhythm and blues and all these classic American styles. And what I realized is that essentially all these styles in their day were rock and roll. They were young guys playing too loud, really rebellious, pissing off their parents. And that's kind of one of the threads of all these styles that I try to share with people is like, this style, you have a lot more in common with this style than you think, even if you're a heavy metal guy or a punk guy or a hip hop guy. So when I get to play with this 18-piece big band, it's kind of the same thing. It's a jazz gig, it's a rock gig, it's a blues gig, it's a rockabilly gig. And for me, it's just the greatest opportunity. And to get up every night and drive a big band is one of the greatest experiences you could ever have as a drummer, you know, especially a top big band of great people with a great leader. So that's what I've been doing lately. I've been working a lot in that, and you know, it takes me here to Kennesaw, Georgia, where I get to hang out with the cool cats from Crescent, and hopefully we'll do a little playing here so we can show off some of these plates. Thanks for watching.